Welcome to my daily review. Today is Thursday, May 29th. Tomorrow is the last trading day in the month of May, and then Monday will be the first trading day in the month of June, which will be June 2nd. There's, usually a little bit of volatility around the end of the month and the beginning of a new month for a variety of reasons. But today we saw the Nasdaq advance 75 points or 0.39%. 24% above the average volume, and the volume is getting skewed by some of these penny penny stocks or low price stocks that are seeing insane amounts of volume. But anyway, the Nasdaq was up on this type of volume. What we've seen this week is a rotation into the mega cap tech stocks. The Tesla, NVDA, Amazon, Meta, and Apple. I put those on the ready list this week. At least Tesla and Meta and Amazon, I believe. But anyway, we see in the rotation, it kind of paints the tape a little bit because those mega cap tech stocks are going to make the indexes look good. But there's been a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of damage. There's been some stocks selling off underneath, the surface here. Some of the smaller cap stocks, while the money flows into the Apples and, I shouldn't say Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and Meta. Today, you could see the Nasdaq closed 8.6% above that 53.9% above this black line, which is, the 200 simple moving average, but still closed, 1.1% above the 10. I hear people crying that, oh, this is a short-term top, the Nasdaq's going to roll over, the sky is falling. I don't get where people, I don't know if they think that they're entitled to, the market going up or their stocks going up every day. I mean, the index was up, a lot of their stocks weren't today, but folks, that's the way the market works. They're not going to make it easy for you. Your stock is not going up every day, so deal with it. Just want to point out it's still in this little, what I would call a consolidation pattern, this little kind of triangle here after a big move, right? So if you take a look at this run up and, then the sell off, the non-believers, the profit takers, and then it ran up, got above its 21. This is the first time it pulled back to the 21, and it hasn't pulled back to the 21 since. You got to expect at some point that 21 is going to catch up to the price of the index. You can see here that the 10, this green line, and the magenta line, the 21, have rallied through the 50. They've rallied through the 200. The 50 is turning up. It's going to eventually rally through the 200. We're going to get into this, nice stacked trend. It's just going to take some time. And all the market did, this week essentially is just kind of marking time here. Uh, you know, I wouldn't get too excited. I still think this is going above the old 20,204. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I want to harken back. Let's harken back to 2019. And this is the V-shaped rally when, I've gone over this over and over again when we're in the trade war with China and Trump and Xi were going at it, and Powell was trying to raise rates, and Trump wasn't having it. But this thing had some, a V-shaped bottom, little pullback here. Once it got above the moving averages, it pulled back to the 21. It undercut the 21, rallied up, pulled back to the 21, rallied up and made a new high above the 81.33. So, let's not get it twisted here, folks. The market's heading in the right direction, and if it pulls back to the 21 a couple of times, if it even undercuts the 21, that still doesn't mean we're not in an uptrend because we are in an uptrend. And I just can't emphasize that enough because it's very important to identify the market trend and the market direction. It's going higher. You should be thinking about buying pullbacks in some of these leading stocks instead of crying that they're not going up. And I don't want to be a jerk about it, but I mean, I mean, I'll get there in a minute. Okay, I'll get there in a minute. I better not say something that I'll regret. I just want to point out that some of the mega cap tech stocks that I talked about have been strong this week. This is Apple. It snapped an 8-day losing streak on Tuesday. It was up a couple of days down today, but it's up 2.5% this week. Microsoft again, up nearly 2% this week. Meta Platforms, remember they have that FTC, and I got to go to the yeah, I'll go to the daily chart here. Cup with handle pattern. Their FTC case is, close, and it's up to the judge to decide if they're going to bust up who knows what, WhatsApp, Instagram, I don't know. That'll be decided later. But just know that that's in the background. It could be a positive, even if the FTC, if the judge does decide to break them up, that could be a positive. I think Google could afford to spin off Chrome or YouTube, and Meta could afford to spin off Instagram as well. These companies would be okay with that. So you shouldn't be frightened of that news. And Amazon here, I put this one on the ready list today, and it was up nicely in the morning. A lot of things got rug pulled this morning. This is why I like stocks ahead instead of options, because if you see it ramping in the morning, like I had some options and I had some stock this morning and like CoreWeave and SMCI, and I just sold them in pre-market, but you can't sell your options until the market opens. And this one opened higher. This is Amazon, and then immediately sold off, little rug pull into the close here, 208 down to 205. Not the end of the world. It was still up, 0.5% today, and still consolidating within this base, this cup with handle pattern. So Meta and Amazon both look, pretty similar, and they both look, pretty good on the daily chart. All right, what else we have? Tesla's on our ready list this week. Yeah, it had that little ledge pattern, didn't go down when the Nasdaq did last week, and it's popped decently this week. Yeah, it was up 0.5% today, up 5.5% for the week. So good week for Tesla. What other ones I want to talk about? Oh, yeah, there was a company that reported last night that's part of this group. It's NVIDIA. NVIDIA reported last night. I'm going to get to some of the earnings reports from last night and this morning before I get to some of our leading stocks and how some of them are pulling back. And it's not the end of the world. All right, NVIDIA reported nice 3.25% percent response, but I mean, this thing was looking like it was really going to gap higher and go in the morning. I think pre-market was like 144, opened 143.49 here and just sold off all day. That's not kind of what you want to see here from a leading stock like that. But, if you're long and you've been, struggling through NVIDIA forever and a day here, it hasn't gone anywhere in a year. That's a welcome, 3.5% moves, up 6% this week. So good for the NVIDIA longs. Salesforce reported last night. I thought it was a pretty good report. Wall Street did not, down more than 3%. So, it doesn't matter what I think, it's what Wall Street thinks. And you could see that Salesforce has had, big problems here. Undercut to 200, rallied up to it, off the, those April lows, and then got rejected there at the 200. So that's not a good sign for that stock. AI, literally AI. This is all the Sable's company, Siebel Systems. Anyway, it rallied up 20% today, above the 200 simple moving average with volume. A very nice move. I like it. And then our buddy, Elf the buddy, up 24% today. Nice move. Looks to me like it's starting to emerge out of that stage. Here you have these Weinstein stages, right? You got the stage one, and you got the stage two advance, you got to stage three, where it can't not, make new highs. I think the high was 221. It made a high of 221. March of 24, made another 221 or 220. July of 24, and now it's sold off for what, 10, 11 months. Formed this, stage one base, and now it's starting to emerge out of this base here. And you could call last week's high like, that's broken out from that area. Last week's high would be at what, 84. It pulled back last night after reporting earnings to like $80. I thought, man, this thing's going to really sell off. And then it reversed higher. I was surprised how much power this thing had. But that's a move not to be ignored. Dan had a couple of them last night, up 24% with volume. So Elf looks good. 47%. I think that was the surprise there. People thought that, the business is declining. They're making their products in China. They got tariff issues, a lot of hair on the quarter, and they turn in a 47% EPS growth, which is, kind of a change of course from what they've been doing. So a turnaround story in Elf is what I'm trying to say. A little verbose there. Yeah, turnaround story now. All right. Viva Systems, computer software, medical stock. This is your classic breakout from a base. You could see the RS line with the blue dot here heading straight through the moving average. To me, that's a buy sign of 19% with that kind of volume. Yeah. And they say, "What? How do I buy that?" Well, very carefully. Don't let it go below that low of 264.33. We'll see what it does tomorrow. I'm just hoping for a little quiet inside day tomorrow, but nice report there. You know, you can see the growth here, the EPS growth here, 31%, then 26, now back to 31. That's nice, you know, and then 13, 14, 17% sales growth, you know. So Viva got it going on. Viva Las Vegas. Oh, can't be all fun and games here. Sentinel one, which is supposed to be taking market share from CrowdStrike after CrowdStrike had that glitch last year. Not to be, this thing's getting hammered, and you know they're all not going to win in this cybersecurity space. There's going to be winners and losers. I've identified the winners over and over again. I think every day I point them out because I think they're that important. And there's some really strong ones in that group, and I'll get to them in a little bit. This morning, we saw earnings reports from Build-A-Bear, which is very popular, up 21%. Another move not to be ignored. Classic cup with handle breakout. This 21% type of volume there, and you could see the earnings on Build-A-Bear here, 43%, you know, 1943 hike. We like that. Sales growth, 1% to 12%. So Build-A-Bear, not bad. Best Buy going the other way, down 7% with volume after their earnings report this morning. See, this is why I love earnings reports, man. It tells the story of who's taking market share, who's winning, who's losing. And this is what moves stocks, earnings. It's not just all the chart. This is Burlington reported, ran up to the 200, got rejected like Matambo and closed near the lows of the session. So that's retail has been really tough, man. With these tariffs, it's just really hard right now. This is Foot Locker that got bailed out by Dick's a couple weeks ago. They reported and they're just flat city. I don't know why Dick's bought that thing. But they did, and that's their problem. It's their headache now. FUTU, this is a Chinese, a financial investment banker. You know, it just got this cup with handle. It's got this base, big old base with a cup with handle base, and it can't go anywhere. Just flat after earnings today. And you could see, man, just big blue numbers, strong sales and earnings growth, and the stock can't go anywhere. Got to stay away from that. Kohl's reported just flat in the session. Kohl's has had a hard time. Like I say, retail has been really, really tough. Very, very tough right now in retail. I'd kind of stay away from that group unless, yeah, I would just kind of stay away. I don't see any on our relative strength stock list. All right, that's it for the in Nasdaq. That's it for the mega cap tech stock. That's it for the earnings reports last night and this morning. And now I want to get to some of these stocks or these software names. I'm going to start with software app 11. This thing still looks good to me. It had a, I don't know, what an upgrade at Citigroup today, and it rallied in the morning, came up to that 400 level and got rejected like Matambo right there at 400. There it is in the morning. Whoop, top tick there, first thing in the morning, and then sold off. Doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It'll it'll come back and take another crack at that 400. You could see the 10, the 21, and the 50 are stacked. They're heading in the right direction. It's trending in the right direction. And since I'm on to our leading stocks, I'm just going to switch this over to the 5 because we're starting to see some stocks slip below the 5. App 11, not one of them. You could see there it's still above the 5. Closed today 1.9% above the 5. So that looks very good to me. All right. I want to get to Roblox, another one that I was watching today. Was tempted to buy some calls on this one, but there was not enough strength in the market. It pulled back to its 5, found support, didn't really bounce, but it found support, so that's important. There you go. Sold off in the morning here down to what, 83, closed at 84.79. Just not enough juice, but definitely I like the fact that it is trending off the 5 there. We'll see what happens tomorrow with Roblox. What's the other? Oh, ServiceNow. Nice pattern here. ServiceNow, another one. This looks like Meta and it looks like Amazon and ServiceNow just with this cup with handle. So that's why I'm saying I wouldn't, wouldn't be too negative on the market if your stock, is not doing well. Maybe you need to trim some, but there's some stock setting up here. All right, I got to get to the cybersecurity names. I mentioned Sentinel One, not doing well. And this is Rubrik. This one just relentless, pounding new highs every darn day. Closed today 2.3% above its 5 EMA. It's up a little bit after hours. I'll get to that in a minute. CrowdStrike, now this is one that people are crying, oh, CrowdStrike down $10, blah blah blah. They report on Tuesday, I think after the close. Yeah, and it closed right at its 5. I mean, I don't know what you want from stocks, people. Yeah. I mean, this thing's had a hell of a run from 298 to 458 and it pulls back, $10 and you guys are just be patient. Your stock's not going to go up every day, okay? Man, yeah, you're not entitled to having your stock go up every day. So just, deal with the pullbacks. Pullbacks are great if you're not in a stock and you want to buy it, then you want the pullback, right? But if you're in it and you get the pullback, you're saying, this sucks. I want my stock to go higher. And I get it, but just you got to show some patience and discipline. That's all. This is OKTA. I had some people saying, oh, buy OKTA. I'm not buying this. Are you crazy? This is a falling knife. It sliced its 50 with volume yesterday and today made a lower low. You see that here? I know it closed 72% of the daily range and it was up today. I don't care if it was up or not. This thing's making lower lows. This is definitely a void at all costs here. Let's go to like a 15-minute chart. Yeah, look at that. It's gliding along just fine. Everything's fine. And then it's not. And you just cannot catch a falling knife here. I just showed you, other stocks to buy in the group, and another one is Zscaler, which I'm going to get to in a minute because they reported earnings tonight. Another one that I'm just going to mention that kind of looks like set up here in a base, pull back to the 21 here, pop 3% today, and this is Paymentus, and I don't know, looks pretty good to me. So there's stocks out there, folks, that haven't broken out, that haven't mooned, like we all like them to moon every day. But yeah, just be patient, look around. The rotation, there's going to be a rotation, in a healthy uptrend, we see rotation. We know this. This week it was rotation into mega cap. Well, next week it might be something else. So you're just going to have to be patient. You have to do your homework every night and look for these stocks here that are setting up. And this one and Service Now, and I just showed you. Meta and Amazon, yeah, I mean, there's some stocks setting up. There's more of them, but I've got to move on to some of the stronger names. GE Aerospace, surfing the 5, right? If you want to buy an aerospace defense name, there's plenty to choose from. You could see the group is a top group. And these things are just surfing their moving averages. But, like I say, these things that are surfing their moving averages, they can crack at any time. So you have to watch them closely. Howmet Aerospace, oh my gosh, it pulled back today, 23 cents. What a crime. What's the matter with this thing? We're going to have to sell it. 1.1% above the 5 at close. So it looks pretty darn good. Curtis Wright, this one did pull back to its 5 today, which was 437.04. It pulled back to 435, so it bounced a couple of bucks there, $5 off the lows. Not bad. Down nearly 2%. But these things, they look fine. I mean, they're just doing what they're supposed to do. This is Kratos Defense pulled back to its 5 today, so that's fine. And closed just a tick below the 5. So if it crashes through, that's another story. If it finds support and bounces, that's what we expect. So that's why I say you got to really watch these. And these are, yeah, you got to, I don't mean to say you have to sit at your computer all day, but you have to be vigilant of these high flying momentum stocks. HEI, believe they reported earlier this week, maybe yesterday. I don't know, maybe Tuesday. I forget. Anyway, nice pop here. It must have been, yeah, this day was reaction, 7%. Followed through today with a new high, so that looks pretty darn good, up 2%. This is a really, really strong group. I know a couple of my buddies they like this one. It's kind of speculative for me, Joby, and then Archer Aviation, kind of speculative. I'd rather have something like a Howmet or a GE, but that's just me. This is probably more risk, more reward type of stuff. And that's, they're younger, so they can do that. All right, got to go to the energy group. This is one that people are like, this one got downgraded today. And I always like to see how a stock responds to a downgrade. All GEV did today was pull back to the 5. Now, I'm not saying this is out of the woods. This thing could show more weakness tomorrow. And if it pulls back maybe to that old buy point around 447.50 or maybe just 450, that would be a gift. If it bounces off the 5, that would be, what I would expect from a stock like this. You can see it sold off sharply at the open, was at the first half hour, maybe 45 minutes where it made that low. Okay, 45 minutes in, yeah, it's 462, 462. And then, buyers came in and it closed at 471. So tomorrow will be a big day for GEV. Do we want to see it bounce off that 5? Just form an inside day, that would be great. You could see it's just a tick above the 5. But you don't want to see it, making a low below today's low of 462. That's what I'm looking for in GEV. NRG is another one of these energy names that I like. It's forming this little pennant, and I know people are saying, "Oh man, I want to buy this. It's flagging." It's not going to go up every day. It made a big move here, and now it's just consolidating gains, forming like this little ledge, a little flat ledge base here, a short consolidation time. Okay. So somebody had asked me about the high, or excuse me, the buy point, and thought it was 160. And I'm just going to go with the high from this week of 159.79. The high was from a couple of weeks ago, 159.24, but last week 161. Yeah, I mean, you kind of, I don't know. I would just, I like it above this week's high. I mean, you're splitting hairs here, 159, 160. It's got some work to do. To me, I wouldn't buy it until it did show some strength because I don't want to see it, crater below this, little ledge area and pull back to the 21. So that's NRG. The other one, no, another one that I like is VST, just surfing the 5 now. This one looks super strong in the energy group. Lots of energy stocks that are doing well. Oklo, this one, had that 3 day. This is the 3 day rule, right, where it goes up on that news on Friday from President Trump signing the executive order, follows through on Tuesday. 10% move, and then yesterday 2.5, today pulled back 4. But I mean, it's still up a lot this week, 8%, gave back a little bit. So what I would do for Oklo is just watch that 5, and it's going up. Like, it was 45 a couple sessions ago, 48 yesterday, over 50 today. So, $5 in a couple of days. It's not going to take it long to get to 55, right? And so I would expect this thing to bounce. Maybe not tomorrow, but next week off that 5, which tomorrow it'll probably be around 48. That's $1.50. We call it maybe 52. Yeah. So if it pulls back a buck in the morning, finds that line and bounces, that would not surprise me at all. The other one is the not the energy play, but the quantum stocks. Um, Rigetti and IONQ. Actually, I wanted to check out SMR because that's doing the same thing as Oklo. Those two are kind of, is down a little bit more, 6.76%, but those nuclear stocks, giving a little back, and that's to be expected. The quantum computing stocks, which are really speculative, super hot. IONQ sliced its 5 today, down 9%. Do not like that. Rigetti, the rigatoni, sliced its 5 as well. So those are weaker than the nuclear stocks, and I would stay away from those. Super speculative, super Momo names that they're showing up on the relative strength list. At least IONQ was. I don't know if it will anymore. Probably will. But yeah, there's highly speculative because there's no current earnings for those stocks. All right, moving right along. Another group that I like a lot, a lot, a lot, and they're just kind of pulling back here, pulling back this week. This is Construction Partners, and it's what down? No, it's not down this week. It's flat this week, but you could see this. It needs to come down a little bit. You can see this consolidation, this cup with no handle. It's come straight up off the lows, and it needs to pull back a little bit, form a handle for, I don't know, 5 days, 5 day rule here. I would say, yeah, it needs more time. But yeah, that's another one that I like. AGX Argan. And this one, same thing. It needs to pull back a little bit and form a little bit of a handle here, but it's it's still, 1.2% above the five. So it's still surfing that five and has been for so, so long. So that's a beautiful trend for Argan. Another couple of stocks that I like within this heavy construction group, Quanta. And this one's forming a handle here. You saw the big shakeout on what, May 22, 3% shakeout, $10 down to its moving average and then popped and, just kind of going sideways here. I like that one. And Sterling as well. Just going sideways here, kind of looks a little bit like the index, just consolidating these, big gains. You're looking at it, from 96 up to 186, and it's just, that was the big move, and now it's consolidating those gains. Okay, so I mentioned that everything was not peachy keen, everything's not fine. So I'm just going to go through some of these leading stocks and how they're, I wouldn't say showing weakness. I know people want to see them just lead every day and make new highs, but that's not reality. And those people who have been riding the stocks and are in the stocks, they want to see it go up. The people who missed the boat and want to jump in, they missed the train and the train left the station. They want to jump on the train. Well, they need a little bit of a pit stop, a little bit of a pullback. And that's what Palantir is doing here. It ran up from 66 to 133, and now it's pulled back to the 120 area, doing nothing wrong. It's just, showing weakness, in this tape and consolidating gains. And nobody wants to sit here and wait through something like that. Now, I'm included because I think I could find better stocks that are, well, I've showed you stocks that are doing much better. But you also have to know that there are some people who miss the boat, and they're going to want in, and that's why you see downgrades and stuff like GEV and some of the leading stocks. They get downgraded, they pull back, and some of the big boys want in on those names. Uber is another one. I think this was linked to robo taxis or whatever. Uber is just a confounding stock to me. It's a slower mover, and it's just consolidated for a long, long, long time. Today it sliced, it's 21. Uh, I don't know. Uber, yeah. Uh, I'm just going to move on. It slices 21, so that's showing weakness. So those people who are saying, "Hey, I sold the slice of 21," I get it. You don't want to sit through a trip to the 50, and that is one of the leading stocks that definitely showing weakness here. No doubt about it. MSTR has been showing weakness. Below the 21, yeah, this one it doesn't look good to me. Below the 21 and above the 50, just kind of in no man's land, which kind of reminds me of Hims and Hers. Above the 21, below a downtrending 5 here. So once again, in no man's land, showing zero strength this week, down 4%. So yeah, Hims and Hers. Like I said, it's shown the ability to really crash and burn, and that always is in the back of my mind when I buy stuff like that. I just want to get in for a trade and get out because I don't want to sit through something like that. And I'm not going to put it that way. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that dumb. I've been around the block too many times. I'm not going to get hoodwinked like that. Speaking of hood, Robinhood looks good to me. I know people are complaining. Like, once again, this thing, I made a new high on Tuesday. Now it's pulled back. Well, yeah, it's just consolidating gains. It went from 29 to 67, and now it's just kind of forming this little flat ledge pattern that we've seen over and over again here recently. And when you're seeing the, Bitcoin's been down a little bit recently. And money flowing into the mega cap tech, this one's taking a little breather, and that looks absolutely fine to me. It looks great, actually. Give it a couple more days, and I like Robinhood for next week. CoreWeave had a bearish engulfing candle today, and this candle engulfed Wednesday's action and Tuesday's big run up. It finally pulled back to its 5 once again, and that has been an area to buy. To me, that's not an area to sell. I don't care about the bearish engulfing candle. What has this thing been doing? It's been finding support and bouncing off the 5. Now, if that changes tomorrow and it slices its 100, then maybe you buy some puts, and it maybe crashes and burns, way below that 100 level to the 82 level, 80, 82, going up $2 a day. Call it 85. Yeah, you might have something there. 80 to, excuse me, 100 to 85. But yeah, I wouldn't give up on this one just yet because it's likely, I think it's likely to bounce off that 5. just a hot momentum stock, man. So yeah, it's a profit taking today. It ran up to like 130. Once again, I mean, if you have stock, you can sell on pre-market. You don't have to sit through that. If you have options, you got to get rid of those things, especially if you have weekly options or, next week or, closely dated options. You got to get rid of those. You can't sit through that. You'll get hammered. All right. CoreWeave, just another one that's not, looking all that great is Spotify, pull back to its 21 today. This is not good action, down 27 bucks or 4%. Um, Spotify though, just longer term, yeah, just going higher. I mean, it had this 3 weeks tight pattern, heading into this week, and now it's down. How much this week? 2.6%. I don't know. It should bounce off that 21 as it has recently, right? Every time it comes back to the 21, it finds support and bounces, and here we are again. So let's see what happens here. Not just tomorrow, but next week. We'll see what happens with Spotify here at the 636 level. Oh, and DUOL. I guess if I have mentioned Spotify, I have to mention Duolingo. DUOL is the ticker symbol. That one's just forming another ledge too. It looks fine. I know it's below its 5, probably pulling back to the 8 there. Yeah, 1.2% below the 5. I'm not going to switch to moving average. It looks fine to me, allowing the moving averages to catch up. Massive gains here. 274 to what, 540? Come on, folks. Like I say, you're not entitled to doubles every month. Hey, you got to work for it. You got to be disciplined. And you gotta, have some patience as well. That was a big move. Anyway, that's it for me. Some good, some bad, some in between, something to look forward to, and some things to get rid of too. So a lot going on in the market. That's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, and we also like to honor the great Steve Jobs and say, stay hungry, stay foolish, stay humble. If you're not humble, the market will humble you soon enough. Tonight, we have earnings reports, and the first one I want to get to is Costco because this thing just amazes me. I had a friend who worked there in the early 90s. She was a manager, sent through two kids through Catholic elementary and Catholic high school, and went to like Pepperdine and St. Mary's, a Catholic college. It's really expensive. And she was a manager there. She told me to buy it when they bought Price Club back in the 90s, and I can't even go back to the 90s. Well, I guess I can if I want to. Yeah, go back to 1995. Look at this. Yeah, back here. This is one of the O'Neill model book stocks here. You could see it just, they bought Price Club, I believe, in 90 or 91, somewhere in here. And it just ramped. And she said, man, you should buy some of this stock. It's worked well for me. And I didn't, like a dummy. And I regret it. But look what it's done. And it just continues to just churn higher. This is not one of these ones that, it's kind of like waste management where just quietly just, grinds higher. Not a big spectacular momentum play. It's not going to gap up and go 20% in a day. It's not that type of stock, but just you could just see on the weekly and the monthly, just grinds higher. Tonight they reported earnings. It doesn't really matter what they do after earnings. They're growing and they're expanding, into China. They have more and more stores there in a huge developing area for them. So Costco, just to me, a fantastic stop, a big winner. You should have it in your retirement portfolio, even if I don't. Yeah, just a great stock. They reported strong numbers tonight, and like I said, the numbers are muted after hours, but this thing, just a beast and a great stock. DELL reported after hours. I looked at the report; it didn't seem that great. Yeah, okay, it came back. It was up above 124, and now it's down to 116. Got this little flat ledge pattern above the 200 though, and it looks like it might, start rallying up tomorrow. 116, not bad. Zscaler is the one that I was interested in after hours. They reported, and they're popping again. New highs tomorrow for Zscaler, right? Right there, 259, the high from May 27th, and you could see this one. That was Tuesday, right? Yeah. Pull back ahead of earnings, and now it's going to pop some more. So, yeah, Zscaler looks pretty darn good to me. Marvell, Zscaler, Rubrik, CrowdStrike reports next week. Rubrik and CrowdStrike. So MRVL reported after the bell. They had a slight beat on the top and bottom line, and the stock is responding, I guess, a little bit. It's not negative, it's slightly positive. Semiconductor fabless stock, 55 billion market cap, no small stock there. ESTC, I did not see their report. This is an AI, oops, down 12%, AI software name. That thing has a tendency to move a lot, up or down on earnings. Ulta Beauty, I haven't been there in a while. Up 8.5%. You can see the cup with handle pattern, little hesitation, a little pause, a little caution ahead of the print. And now it's going to pop. Looks like tomorrow, 8.5%. We'll see how that plays out. Gap stores reported tonight. And like I said, yeah, retail is real tough, down 14%. After hours, AEO, yeah, the CEO said it's a pretty tough environment. He was disappointed. It's just tough out there for retailers with the tariffs, with the uncertainty. Yeah, it's just a tough environment. There's some areas where it's just really hard right now. The drug stocks, solar stocks, retail. So there's kind of a narrow playing field. And the last one I think I have tonight is NTAP. NetApp, they reported down 5%. So I'll have more on this in the morning. I don't think there's a lot of stocks reporting tomorrow morning, but I'll cover these tomorrow morning and see how they're reacting. I don't think any one of these is going to really move the market, one way or the other. Maybe Dell, the hardware space, maybe Zscaler, the cybersecurity space, what's in the Dell space like SMCI, maybe we'll see. It's up a little bit. And then Zscaler might move something like Rubrik, which reports next week, barely moving, or CrowdStrike, yeah, barely moving, or Palo Alto Networks. Yeah. Yeah, Zscaler, just not that big of a stock, and it's just not going to move. Ulta, Ulta could have an impact on something like our friend the Elf, which moved a lot today. I will have to see what happens with that tomorrow and see what they have to say on their call. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up.